Hello fellow RimWorlders and Plantoids, I'm Subs and I have another PowerLogic video for you. Today I will be showcasing the power monitoring type sensors. These are low tier sensors, so they just require PowerLogic switches research. The first of these switches is the stay on switch. This switch is designed to stay on when it detects at least two powered adjacent conduits. It is useful for keeping devices on even after the sensor goes off. Then when you want to reset the switch, you just need to flick it. Last video I used it in the pressure plate example, and that used three conduits. Next up is the capacitor sensor switch. The capacitor sensor switch checks the amount of power in your batteries. When configuring a cap sensor switch, you have two main modes: low cutoff high turn on and high cutoff low turn on. This might sound confusing, but allow me to explain. In low cutoff high turn on mode, when the batteries go below a stored battery level which you specify, the switch turns off. And the switch waits for the stored battery level to get to the upper range which you also specify. Then it turns back on. Simply put, when it's low it cuts off, and when it's high it's back on again. Handy if you want to prevent a stored battery level going too low. The second mode, high cutoff low turn on, is the opposite. This turns the switch off when it gets to the upper range and back on again when it gets to the lower range. By default, the cap switch will check for all batteries connected to adjacent conduits. But you can also restrict the switch to only check batteries within a certain range along the adjacent conduits by turning on shorten range, which can itself also have its range adjusted. One use is to cut power to a workstation, a power consumer, or even an entire section of a grid if your stored battery levels get too low. Then when the battery levels are above a decent level, the cap switch re-engages. Next up is the current flow sensor switch. This switch detects the difference between power produced and power used. When set to active when positive, the switch will be on if you are overproducing power. For example, batteries are getting charged. However, if set to active when negative, then it will only be on if more power is getting consumed than is produced. Like when your power plants are not producing enough energy and power is being drawn from your batteries. Be sure to watch your placement, as using it to cut off power users could flip the switch between positive and negative rapidly. Take care not to cut off all your batteries from your grid as well, as you need to draw power from your batteries to have a negative flow. So what could you use this for? Well, if you wanted to charge up a backup set of batteries, but only if you have positive power, you could use this switch. Here I'm using one current sensor switch set to on when positive, going to the rear of some backup batteries. I've combined it with a capacitor sensor switch on the other side of the batteries with a shortened range and set to low cutoff high turn on. Lastly, in the power category, we have the protective fuse. This fuse provides a 50-50 chance to block the path of a short circuit event, and if it does block the path of a short circuit, only the blocking fuse will break down. Now, because it has a 50% chance to fail, you're encouraged to place down multiple fuses in sequence to increase the chances to block a surge. And because it blocks the path of a surge, if you have another conduit going to your batteries, remember to block that path with more fuses. As such, my preferred battery setup is to have them in several banks connected in sequence and fuses in between all the banks, because you never know where your short circuit event will originate. This minimizes the loss of energy should it originate near or on one of your batteries. Lastly, I think it's worth mentioning that I designed the protective fuse to work with some other fuse mods. And because a protective fuse works differently than other fuse mods, you can use them both together to benefit from both. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and if you want to be informed of more PowerLogic videos, hit that notification bell. Goodbye!